In the next hour, Coach Self will break down your Jayhawks and take your questions. Hawk Talk with Bill Self is presented by Boulevard Brewing Company, local since 1989. Capital Federal Savings, celebrating 125 years. By Johnny's Tavern, serving up tradition since 1953 in Lawrence and Kansas City area. And by Intrust Bank, proud supporter of Kansas athletics. Now, alongside Coach Self, here's your host, the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Haney.
Good evening and welcome into Hawk Talk, coming at you live from our new Hawk Talk home, Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence, 6th and Wakarusa. The Hall of Famer, Bill Self, making his way onto the scene as we speak. And you can join us in person, too. 6th and Wakarusa. Come on down and say hi. We'll be here for the next 19 weeks doing Hawk Talk, talking all things Kansas Jayhawk basketball, about your preseason #1 team in the country. How about that? We got a rowdy group of Jayhawks out here tonight. They're fired up about preseason #1. Coach, great to see you. I'm sure you're digging the new digs out here at Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence. We're going to have a lot of fun this season.
It is nice.
Yeah.
This is nice. And we're going to do this 19 weeks in a row.
Something like that.
God, it seems like eternity right there. but no, it's a great setup.
It's great to be back with you too, Coach. Absolutely. We're going to have some fun. And as I mentioned, not only is the team projected to do big things, but we've had some great individuals added to this team that we'll talk about. A preseason first-team All-American in Dedrick Lawson. 3 McDonald's All-Americans added in as well. And we'll spend some time over the course of tonight's episode talking a lot about these new faces, as well as taking some audience questions. We've got a great prize tonight, a 2-night stay at the Oriad Hotel for our top question asker of the evening. So that's a terrific reason to come on down and join us.
You still pick the winner?
We still pick the winner.
We or you?
Well, you know, we used to
I
put
never
it,
helped before.
we used to put it on the Hall of Famer Bob Newton. Now we have Steve Kincaid helping us out.
Hey, Steve.
And with a prize that good, you might have to weigh in, Steve, so they don't come running after us in case we pick the wrong person. But that's a $500 value. Big thanks to everybody at the Jayhawk IMG Sports Network for that. But if you can't join us here in person, you can still join in on the conversation by calling us at 1-800-845-HAWK. That's 1-800-845-4295. You can also submit your questions and comments for Coach anytime during the week online at KUathletics.com or Facebook or Twitter. Well, Coach, you were out and about around the state today, speaking to a great group of Jayhawks in Wichita, listening on KFH. And it's no secret whether you're listening to Bill Self earlier today in Wichita or during the numerous media days of the last 2 weeks, you like this basketball team you got. Tell us what has you most excited about this group.
Well, I do like them. I think, first of all, I think they're really good people. I think they're probably as low maintenance a group as we've ever had when you talk about just the everyday things you got to do, whether it be, they all seem to, enjoy being on time. They all seem to enjoy going to class. So the distractions that we've had with the with those guys have been so minimal. And then they're all very coachable. It's been a fun group in that, it's almost kind of like they know what they don't know, where sometimes young kids don't know what they don't know, and so that makes them harder to maybe deal with at times. And these guys have all been open and receptive, and so I think it's a good group from that standpoint. Now, do the pieces fit yet would be a different deal, because I don't think they do yet. I think that we're playing with young guards, and I think it's going to take some time for those young guards to become seasoned, so to speak, but I love the talent in the room. I love our depth. I love our size. I love our athletic ability. I think there's a lot of things to build on.
You talk about young guards versus what you've had the last 2 years. Not only have you had first-team All-Americans, and in Frank's case, the National Player of the Year, but these are 23-year-olds. Now you got an 18-year-old, awfully talented one in Devon Dotson, and, of course, other guys helping out and bringing the ball up the floor. But speak to coaching a young guy, and as you told me last week, you can't truly replace and fill in guys like Devontae Graham and Frank Mason, but in bursts, we might see glimpses, right?
Yeah, in bursts, you'll see he and Quentin do some things that's very comparable to what Frank and Devontae have done in burst, but you won't see the consistency yet. The thing about it is, what people forget, Frank didn't play a lot as a freshman. Devontae didn't play a lot as a freshman. Sharon didn't even start, who's by far the best guard we've recruited since we've been here, till he was a junior. I mean, sometimes when you have good, young, talented kids, sometimes experience will still prevail over that natural talent until they get to the point where they're a little bit experienced. And so I don't know if you guys remember Mario Chalmers. He couldn't get the ball across half court early in his career, and then he ends up, basically, being the best player on a national championship team. And so those things happen. We've only started one guard that I can remember that was a freshman since, we started all those for Mario, Brandon, and Julian, all started the same year midway through the season. Well, Tyshawn is really the only freshman guard that we've had that started, and he had Sharon as a junior to play next to him. So Quentin doesn't have Sharon, and Devon doesn't have Sharon, and even though Marcus and Charlie are good players, don't get me wrong, they're nice players, but they don't have the experience that what those other kids had, and so we'll get there. It's just our schedule is really hard early, and so they'll grow up fast. They're going to have to, which will be good for us in the long run. It may not be great for the appearance of our team, initially, but I don't think that the preseason #1 ranking should. I kind of get a kick out of that. I don't think we deserve that at all, but I don't know who does. But is preseason #1 where you should be, where you start the season, or where they project you to be when the season's over?
Right.
Because for us to play to that ranking, it's going to take us some time, but that's what it's all about, is trying to get your team to grow over the course of a season.
And of course, on the Jayhawks non-conference schedule, preseason number 2, 6, 8, and 10. We'll find out a lot about our team and those teams.
Plus Marquette, who's top 25, plus Arizona State, who handled us easily last year at home. Plus Stanford and New Mexico State won their league. Wofford beat North Carolina at Carolina last year. Vermont gave Kentucky all they wanted. I believe that was last year, but it was either last year or the year before. It went all the way down to the wire. I believe it was last year. And so yeah, this is probably as good a schedule we played in a decade or so.
I've heard you asked in recent weeks about leadership on this team. Obviously, when you have such great senior leadership like you had a year ago in Devontae Graham and Sviatoslav Mikhailuk, tough shoes to fill there. And you mentioned Dedrick Lawson has a great chance to lead, but because the ball's not in his hands a ton, he's not maybe the ideal overall team leader. How would you describe the leaders that you have and what you'd like to see emerge there?
Well, I think we have potential to have good leaders, but I don't think our freshmen yet are comfortable enough to hear their own voice tell others what they should be doing. Devon has to be that to be a point guard. Quentin has to be that to be a combo guard or a point guard. And of course, LeGerald could do a lot of that, but LeGerald's not vocal. And Marcus has the ability to do that, but he hasn't yet. He didn't have to last year. So, and Charlie's so quiet. So from a verbal standpoint, there's some challenges there. I think Dedrick and Mitch are two best talkers without question. And that's not always the best thing to have. I said this earlier. That's like having an offensive lineman being your football leader. It's great. God, how great would it be to have offensive lineman there, but I look to as a leader, but they're not the one that commands the huddle.
Right.
And it's the same way with a point guard. You want your point guard to be able to do that for your respective team.
We'll talk more about that as the show unfolds. We'll start to take your questions when we come back. 1-800-845-HAWK is the Hawk line you can dial us up on. That's 1-800-845-4295. Or hit up Coach at KUathletics.com or on the Jayhawks Facebook page or Twitter by using the hashtag KU Hawk Talk. Hawk Talk is brought to you by Jana King, the official cleaning partner of Kansas Athletics. More coming up from Johnny's Tavern West Lawrence on the Equity Bank Jayhawk IMG Sports Network.
My dad was laid off when I was young. It's helped me manage my money better, save it for college.
I don't want to leave my family in debt or have any financial issues.
Then we started getting into money, and that's when you realize this makes the world go round.
You want to start saving money now and grow it.
I will be the generation.
I will be the generation
that is socially and financially aware
and uses technology to keep us connected.
That makes college affordable for everyone.
That takes a stand for what I believe in.
Furnace safety is something most people never think about. The weather turns cool, so you turn on the furnace and hope it works to keep your family warm. But faulty gas furnaces are dangerous and can cause serious health concerns if not maintained. That's why we have the pros at Kate's come out to inspect our furnace and make sure it's safe and winter ready. Their technicians will test the safety controls and provide a detailed report on the state of our equipment. For more on furnace tune-ups and to register to win a Nest thermostat, go to katesheatingandcooling.com/nest.
Diagnostic Imaging Centers has always been at the forefront of new technology, delivering innovative solutions to patients for more than 50 years, right here in Kansas City. From the bumps and bruises of childhood to the joys of starting your very own family and the peace of mind you get from a routine screening, Diagnostic Imaging Centers is building the future so you can focus on yours.
Here in Kansas, we're blessed with an abundance of oil and natural gas energy, as well as many other natural resources. Some folks say that producing oil and natural gas harms our farms and ranches. The truth is, oil and gas leasing and production are vital to sustaining Kansas farms and ranches from one generation to the next. We work together, and over the past 40 years, there has not been a single instance of groundwater pollution from hydraulic fracturing or injection wells in Kansas by our industry. Get the facts at kansasstrong.com.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Vic inside Doak, a two-hand posterizing flush. Hello, Udoka, as Ibuki is back. Welcome back. We're back as well. It's Hawk Talk with Bill Self, our first episode of the year from our new home, Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence, here on the Jayhawk Network. And we said Udoka's back because he'd had a frustrating game to that point, but obviously huge things expected for the junior in his third Kansas season. And one of our first audience questions of the night from out here at Johnny's Tavern comes from Trish. She says, was Doak just nervous shooting free throws in game one, or do you expect it to improve? Only had 2 attempts in that one. I know you do expect it to improve. The question is how much?
Well, it'll improve greatly. But I don't know how much that's really saying a lot. You know, that's like if you bomb the first test, you'll do better on the second one. Well, I think that, you know, last year he shot 40% or 41, which is brutal. But he's totally changed his mechanics. He's worked at it really hard. And I was with him the other day. He made 19 out of 20. You know, but no, he shoots a lot. But I just hadn't been watching him. Just watched him make 19 out of 20. But you know, it's a little different in practice with no pressure. And I could tell the other day. Of course, he had an awful night the other night. Awful. So when he went to the free throw line, his head wasn't right anyway, because he was struggling. But he rushed them. He rushed the first one, and when the first one didn't go in, obviously the second one didn't have much of a chance. So don't get panicked up on that. He's got to see the ball go down, just like anybody in any respective sport needs to see some success. But his foundation, his fundamentals are so much better than they were last year that he'll see it, and when he sees it and gets in a little rhythm and gets some confidence, he'll shoot a lot better. I really think he could be, you know, 65 or 70% this year. I don't think there's any reason why he can't do that.
Wow, that'd be a dramatic improvement. That's great to hear. Beyond the free throw shooting, in what other ways has he improved his game from what we saw a year ago?
Well, the other night, as you know, Emporia played with those real small, undersized guys, and sometimes they bother big guys and they trap the post, and we hadn't worked against trapping the post one time. So it's not his fault that he struggled some with that, but he let that take him totally out of his game. So I think one thing that he's got to be a lot better at and should be better at is just his approach to the game. and his maturity level and how to help a team win a possession as opposed to just how the possession affects him. So because people are going to trap him. It's a lot easier to trap when you're playing with two bigs than it is when you're playing with four guards, because it's, you know, you don't want to leave a guard because he can shoot. So they're going to trap him, and he's going to have to get better at handling it. And we've worked a ton on it since then, and he will. But I think his body's in better shape. I think, you know, his conditioning's better, and certainly I do think he's a better scorer. He still doesn't rebound like he's capable of, but hopefully that's going to be the biggest improvement that we see from last year, because he could be a, you know, monster on the glass. He for whatever reason, he just hasn't quite shown that yet.
And I know you feel like the addition of Dedric Lawson, the great passer that he is and the attention he'll command, those two are really going to love playing with each other.
Though they should. Doak's going to love playing with Dedric, and Dedric can throw it anywhere with Doak. So, yeah, you'll see a lot of positives with that, those guys playing together. And, of course, Dedric is a talented kid. He's not the most athletic, at least from a quick twitch standpoint, a jumping standpoint, but he is ridiculously skilled. I mean, he is a guard that happens to be 6'9", and so I'm real excited about him. Dedric the other night didn't even play well, and he gets 31 and 15 in 23 minutes, and it was like it just came so easy. But he'll be a guy that can certainly be one of the better players around.
If you want to join in, yeah, no doubt, as evidenced by the preseason first-team All-American distinction. If you want to join in on the conversation, you can call us up at 1-800-845-HAWK. That's 1-800-845-4295. You threw the quote out there a few weeks ago that he might be the best passer you've coached.
He is the best passer I've coached.
And when you said that, I listened carefully. Did he say best big man passer or best passer, period?
Best passer.
Ahead of Aaron Miles, ahead of all these great guards. Tell me why. I'm not questioning. I'm curious.
Well, he has better feel. You know, Aaron, I try to think who the second best passer probably we've had since we've been here. And, you know, you could make a case for Brady Morningstar. You could make a case for Aaron. I'm not sure who else would make a case as far as just pure passer that we've had, you know, because that's kind of a lost art in some ways, and just knowing how to throw the ball to the corner of the backboard or throw it away from the defense, or, you know, on time, on target, and how to feed the post.
Julian?
Julian would be he would be like the other best big man passer,
okay,
but not as a guard throwing it in. Right. But he was so good inside his zone. But Dedric is too, and he's got vision. He can see a couple of passes ahead. You know, and sometimes that will get him in trouble because he'll try to do too much or try to hit a home run. But he is really a talented passer. That you know, he reminds me of a Boris Diaw or a George Yang. You know, somebody like that played at Iowa State, you know, that we love George. You know, he was obviously a terrific competitor against us. But he just made the game so much easier for everybody else, and the game was in slow motion. I think that's the way it is with Dedric.
That's exciting to hear you say. Dedric Lawson off to a great start. And again, the Jayhawks back in action coming up on Thursday night versus the Washburn Ichabods. You touched briefly on Charlie Moore earlier. How about KJ Lawson, your other transfer coming from Memphis? What will he add to the mix this year?
I think KJ's a junkyard dog. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. Even though he's developed into a really good standstill shooter, very, very good. But what he should do best is steal extra possessions. That's what he should do best. You know, he kind of like Dedric. He's not an explosive, quick twitch guy, but he's strong, he's heady, and he understands angles, and he's a great guy to have on your team because he can help the young guys also.
Looking forward to having both Lawson brothers in the mix this year for KU. Let's take some more audience questions. Again, our top question of the night gets a 2-night stay at the Oriad Hotel. It pays to join us in person here at Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence. All right, Julie wants to know, and she's from Ellenwood, Kansas. She says, what's your biggest challenge or challenges with the incoming freshmen? And she says she's assuming it's different than with transfers.
Well, with transfers, you know, they've already played 1 year of college at least, and they've set out a year under the system, so they have a better feel for probably knowing what wins for this respective philosophy or program. Where as a freshman, you know, they don't really know yet, and so, you know, I think the biggest challenge with Devon and Quentin and David and Ochai is being able to place themselves in a way that they're one of five as opposed to just worrying about themselves. And I don't mean that from a selfish standpoint at all, but you look at their high school careers, all of them were the best player and everything was catered around them and all these things. And now we want them to try to do something to help us 2 passes before we actually try to score. And that's hard for those guys to do, because if I'm not the guy that's making the play, I'm not aggressive or force help, so that way it forces a closeout, which that way you drive that closeout and it forces another closeout, and then that's when you start playing. And I don't think they really quite understand that yet offensively. But they will, and they're just young. And I don't think that the guys that we had in the past understood it great as a freshman either. But they're going to be good. They're going to be fine. But it is a little bit different, though, for a guard to come in and say, okay, I'm gonna be the leader of a team, or these 2 guys are going to be the leader of a team. I've only had 2 guards ever do it. We had Dee and Darren at Illinois, but those guys are totally on a different plane and had some experiences before they ever got to college that these guys haven't experienced yet. But I love Q and Devon's talent level. It'll happen, but it's just not going to happen immediately, because those guys should be worrying about how does our team win a possession. Well, how can you worry about how our team wins a possession if you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing, let alone what everybody else is supposed to be doing? And that's what guards do. They have to be able to know what everybody's supposed to be doing at all times. And so it'll happen. It's just going to take some time. We've only been practicing we've had 25 practices so far. So I didn't expect it to happen overnight.
No doubt. Julie, thanks for the question. We appreciate that. Thanks for driving in from Ellenwood. Let's take a phone call.
Where's
on the
Ellenwood?
Hawk line. I'm going to have to look that up. Where is Ellenwood?
You act like you knew where it was.
6 miles east of Great Bend. She came a ways.
She came a ways. That's a long ways.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. All righty. Let's go to the Hawk line at 1-800-845-HAWK. I do know where Lenexa is off the top of my head. And Chris is in Lenexa. He's got a question about small ball. Chris, how are you?
Hey, Brian, I'm great. Coach, I appreciate you taking calls on your show every year. Not many coaches do that anymore, and I really appreciate that you do that. My question is,
what could you possibly ask me? What could you possibly ask me about now that I couldn't answer? So no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Last year, of course, we were forced to play a lot of small ball, and I think you grew to like it a little bit.
A lot.
In that, but we have now we got the bigs back and stuff. But obviously we're going to match up with teams playing small ball. How's that going to work? Are we still going to start sometimes see 4 littles out there? Can you talk about that?
Well, here's what I think. How can we play small ball and still play 2 bigs? So that may be something that we try to do, because Diedrich is skilled enough to play on the perimeter, and he's one of our best passers. So maybe we can do some of that. I think your point is well taken. If I understood it right, how are we going to match up with people that play small against us? And that's one that will be more difficult. Like you look at a situation like what Brett will bring in on Thursday with Washburn. They'll bring in and whoever our 4-man is, Diedrich or whoever, they're going to have to guard a guard. And if you watch Villanova last year, when they handled us in the Final Four. Our big, we were matched up. It was actually 4 guards playing against 4 guards, but their 5th guard happened to be 6'10" and their best 3-point shooter, and so that was able to get Doak away from the basket. So whenever you can create a situation where guys are guarding in a way that they're not used to guarding or can't play to their strengths, I think the advantage does go to the offense, and that's kind of what we had last year, because we were able to get a 4-man matched up with Svi or something like that, and so, or if a 4-man was matched up with LeGerald, and so we could kind of play to, those guys being the kind of the go-to guy that night as far as shooting the ball from deep. So this year, I don't think our offense has looked as good because we're playing 2 guys closer to the basket. So I do think we're going to have to do some things to play 4 around 1 more, but let one of the 4 be a big, because Diedrich's good enough to do that, and now we just got to figure out how we're going to guard ball screens whenever other teams play small against us.
Great question, Chris. Coach, thanks for the answer. Chris, thanks for listening on Sports Radio 810 WHB, our Kansas City home. We appreciate it. That's Chris in Lenexa right there. You can do as Chris has done and dial us up at 1-800-845-HAWK or tweet at us using the hashtag KUHawkTalk. More with head coach Bill Self coming up from Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence on the Equity Bank Jayhawk IMG Sports Network. There's a strip and a steal for Teahan. Ahead of Lewinstra. Up the floor, Ochai. He wants a second three, and he's gonna get it. Ochai Agbaji with some final minute heroics. It's 93-55 Kansas. How about that? Ochai out of Kansas City with a couple of big threes late in the ball game. Welcome back to Hawk Talk with head coach Bill Self. You can watch a telecast replay of tonight's show on 38 The Spot, Spectrum Sports, Cox Cable, Midcoast Sports Network, ESPN Plus, and others across the state. Check your local listings for availability, and for TV times, visit KUathletics.com/TV. And we're sponsored in part by Delta Dental of Kansas. Protect your healthy smile. Learn more about individual and family plans at deltadentalks.com. Well, a lot of talk about your three McDonald's All-American incoming freshmen, but Ochai Agbaji, a guy you got in February a year ago, could prove to be just as valuable in the end once his career is all said and done.
No question he could. I love his athletic ability, his smile, his intellect, his savvy. I mean, he's got a lot of things to him that are really beyond their years, but he still needs a chance to play through some mistakes, and you know, I don't know how much of an opportunity that will take place throughout a course of a year, because if you got, you know, 6 other perimeter players, it's not like you can just say, hey, well, if you're not doing it, we'll just put somebody else in, and you don't really say, well, just keep on out, just stay out there and just keep on doing it. Sure. I think that he has been really good. We have not made a decision on any red shirting, and I'm not saying that we're going to consider that with him, but we have talked openly that let's get through the exhibitions and let's see how you respond and where you are and how do you feel, and then we'll make a decision obviously before we play Michigan State if we choose to go that decision, and we may not. I mean, if I wouldn't do it unless he wanted to, but I also think that he's so much like Travis was. You know, Travis, the best thing for him ever was to set out a year, and he was able to start 2 years and have an unbelievable 2 years for us. You know, I think Ojai could even, you know, maybe even experience more success than what Travis even did. And I love Travis Relaford, but I think this youngster has a chance. But he's just young. He's just young.
One of my favorite quotes of the preseason, and you're not a guy that gets swept up in the rankings, but you said, you know, here's a guy that Rivals and 24/7 and all that had ranked in the 300s.
300s.
By the end of it, you think he could be a top 30 or 40 player in this class 5 years down the line.
5 years down the line. Yeah, 4 years down from the line. I really think he could be a top 30 or 40 player in this class.
How about that?
Yeah, so he could be. Yeah,
that's got to get you excited, no doubt. Let's dive back into the audience questions as we invite your phone calls as well at 1-800-845-HAWK for head coach Bill Self. Top in-house question, though, gets a great prize from the Oriad. And Shelley wants to know, with the Champions Classic being played in Indianapolis, Chicago, Atlanta, and Madison Square Garden in New York, do you have a favorite location for the Champions Classic, which is now just 1 week away?
Well, let's think about that. So we won. We beat Duke in Chicago. We beat Kentucky in where was it last year?
Well, last year was in Chicago with Kentucky.
Yeah,
Duke was in New York at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But we beat Duke twice, didn't we?
Yes.
So wasn't the other one in Chicago with Wiggs and Joe?
They're responding to beating Duke in Omaha, but.
No, we beat them the last 3 times we've actually played them. So but in the Champions Classic we beat them the last 2 times, right?
Correct.
So and the team that we've experienced no success against is Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken. So we've won 2 in Chicago and 1 in New York. So I would say up until this year, since we're playing in Indy will end up being my favorite. But up until this point, I do think it's hard to beat Chicago, and it's really hard to beat Madison Square Garden. I mean, there's just something about playing in those 2 places, to me, brings out the best in our Jayhawk loyal following and other schools' loyal following. And I think Indy has as good a venue as anybody, without question. But from a fan standpoint, I think there's one thing to say, hey, we're going to go for a 2-day trip or a 3-day trip to Chicago. We're going to go to New York. I think that's something that gets everybody excited. But everybody should be excited this year. You got 4 preseason top 10 teams, and it'll be great competition. The best thing about it, one of the best things about it, I think this is maybe the first time, maybe we've done it one other time, that we've actually played the early game. So all the other times we played the late game, so it doesn't start till 10, and you don't get home until 3 or 4 in the morning. Right. So this will be good from that regard.
We refer to Allen Fieldhouse as the Mecca of college hoops. Obviously, Madison Square Garden gets the Mecca name, as all arenas go. Is there any pro hoops arena other than Madison Square Garden that gives you an extra chill in your spine or skip in your step?
Well, I don't know about. We played in a place last year that's probably as nice arena as I've ever played in, and that was Sacramento.
Yes.
I mean, that was a big time arena.
Shout out to Kent McCarthy.
Yeah, and Kent obviously is one of the part owners there, and played a role in the design of the building. But playing in Chicago in the United Center, that's pretty good too. We always played there when we were at Illinois. You play 1 game a year there, plus the Big Ten tournament. So that was a great setup for us. But to me, playing in any major metropolitan area, Indianapolis, whether it be Atlanta or Milwaukee or Phoenix or wherever, you would think that it would be a great venue for our guys, and it is. But there's still no place like playing like home. I mean, but certainly the opportunity to play in this thing, I think, does has done a lot of good for our program.
Both Dorothy and Bill Self agree. No place like home. We'll be back home on Thursday night. Brett Ballard's coming home. We'll talk about that when we come back. The Washburn Ichabods versus your Kansas Jayhawks. Hawk Talk is sponsored by Intrust Bank, a proud supporter of Kansas athletics. More coming up on the Equity Bank Jayhawk IMG Sports Network.
Diagnostic Imaging Centers has always been at the forefront of new technology, delivering innovative solutions to patients for more than 50 years, right here in Kansas City. From the bumps and bruises of childhood to the joys of starting your very own family and the peace of mind you get from a routine screening, Diagnostic Imaging Centers is building the future so you can focus on yours.
So I got my first account when I was 16.
I got my first banking account when I got my first job, so when I was 14. So when I finally opened all my accounts, it was just such a relief.
At the end of the day, I feel kind of like good when I go to the bank.
What do you save your money for?
College. I will be the generation.
I will be the generation
that is socially and financially aware
and uses technology to keep us connected.
that makes college affordable for everyone.
That takes a stand for what I believe in.
A smile, such a simple gesture, an effortless contraction of muscles, a flash of teeth. Healthy smiles have the power to spread joy, courage, and love. When you smile, it transforms you and the world around you. So if you feel the urge, go ahead and use that simple gesture to spread joy. Keep your smile healthy and strong. Choose Delta Dental for your individual or family plan, protecting more smiles than anyone.
Hello, Kansas. We're your energy industry. In the past, we've shown you beautiful slow-motion images of gorgeous Kansas sunsets, basketball games, and other images that promote our industry. But right now, it's important that you know the facts, like the fact that during the past 40 years, there has not been a single instance of groundwater pollution from hydraulic fracturing or injection wells in Kansas by our industry. We respect our state and its natural resources. Get the facts at kansasstrong.com.
Did you get your new Truity Visa card yet? You'll save money with 1.99 APR for 15 months. That's right, 1.99 APR with any new Truity Visa card. This rate's good on all purchases and cash advances for the first 15 months. What are you waiting for? Start saving money today. TruityCU.org/credit cards. With approved credit, come in or go online for details.
Rebound, Marcus Garrett of Kansas. Garrett back the other way, all the way to the hoop, coast to coast, and he lays it up and in. Marcus Garrett on the drive. Welcome back to Hawk Talk. We're coming at you live from our new Hawk Talk home, Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence. And for a great sports bar in the KC area, check out one of their 8 Johnny's Tavern, Kansas City locations. We've got a couple of great calls on the line here. Let's go back into the Kansas City area with Jim in Olathe. He wants to talk Champions Classic. As I mentioned, it's just 7 days away. Jim, how are you? And thanks for listening on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Oh, good, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, Coach. Can't thank you enough, Coach, for all you've done for KU basketball, first of all. But you kind of answered the Champions Classic, which I was going to ask about. So a couple of quick questions. What do you think the Big East showdown that's been scheduled with the Big 12, and are you as big a Patrick Mahomes fan as all those Kansas Cityans?
Well, I am, except he cheers for Texas Tech when we play him. But other than that, didn't he do that last year? Didn't he come to our game?
He did indeed. Yeah. And Kareem Hunt came when you beat Toledo.
But they beat us, when Patrick was cheering for Tech. So no, he's amazing. I mean, good gosh, what a talent! What a leader for a young kid that's got total command. You can tell everybody respects him because he's so humble and how he conducts his business. So. Yeah, that's exciting to watch. Just stay healthy, and you're going to have an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady type guy here for the next, 10, 15 years. So that's incredible. And what was the first question before?
Are you still with us, Jim?
Just your overall opinion on the Big East
Oh, the Big
the
East,
Big 12 versus Big East.
I think it's good. I think, I don't think it would affect us very much because we had already scheduled Villanova home and home, and we're going to probably play St. John's home and home. So I don't know that it affects us as much because we would already be doing that. But I think it's great for our league to kind of force everybody's hand to upgrade everyone's schedule. So that certainly will help everybody come selection Sunday. I think it's good.
Jim, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate you. Jim in Olathe.
Great, thank you.
I don't know if you know this, Coach. It's kind of a 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type thing, but Patrick Mahomes' godfather is LaTroy Hawkins, who pitched with his dad, Pat Mahomes, who pitched in the bigs for 19 seasons. Also the godfather of one Elijah Johnson. And when LaTroy was still in the big leagues, he would come to KU basketball games all around the region, rocking and chalking and cheering on his godson. And so he has 2 godsons, Elijah and Pat Mahomes. How about that?
I did not know that.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I did not know that. How'd you find that out?
Well, I was in Lubbock and Lawrence at the same time, and I saw both places. I'm like, wait a minute, you're at another Big 12 event? What are you doing? 2 godsons. How about that? Let's go out to Pratt. We got Blake at 1-800-845-HAWK. Blake, how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Doing wonderful. What's your question for Coach, Blake?
My question just, Dean Wade, Big 12 preseason player of the year pick, has had some success against you guys. What are you guys going to do to take care of him this season?
Well, you know what? He's a good player. So it's not unnatural to say he had some success. Fortunately, we've been on the winning end of him playing well, without question. But the first thing I hope for him is that he's healthy, because last year obviously he missed the NCAA tournament, Big 12 tournament due to health. So I certainly hope he's healthy because he is a really, really talented young man. But he's a hard guard because he can shoot and he can put it down, and he's got great size, and he can play without the ball around the basket and score in tight. And so he's really going to be a big challenge for whoever guards him. But also, you got to make him guard too. And all good players. I think if you let a good player just be what they want to be, then certainly they'll be more effective. I think with a good player, like if you're playing some of these guys in the NBA that are so capable of doing certain things, well, you want to make them have to work on the other end too. So, obviously you got to do that. But certainly, you talk about Dean Wade individually is terrific, but they return their top 6 players, if I'm not mistaken. So, they're going to be very, very good.
We appreciate the phone call from Pratt. Thanks so much. We got to step out to a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll dive into more with Coach on this matchup with Brett Ballard's Washburn Ichabods. That's straight ahead as Hawk Talk rolls on. Don't miss Jayhawk coverage on Xfinity X1, channel 258, coming up on Thursday at 6:30 for the pregame show, 7 o'clock on the tip-off, the Jayhawks and the Ichabods. Summer is winding down just as the Jayhawks are heating up. Cheer louder and watch longer with an unfiltered wheat beer. Boulevard Brewing Company, local since 1989. More straight ahead on the Equity Bank Jayhawk IMG Sports Network. times. Right wing kicks to Moore, dials up a three and delivers. Charlie Moore from the top of the circle. Another three ball going down. Now a steal for McCormick. Ahead to Vic. 1-on-2. Skips out to Moore. He'll take a three. He'll make a three. Charlie Moore from the right wing. And the Jayhawk lead is 26. How about Charlie Moore, the transfer from Cal? 3 threes in his first game in Allen Fieldhouse. Welcome back to Hawk Talk. Hawk Talk is brought to you by Diagnostic Imaging Centers, centered on you. We're coming at you live from our new Hawk Talk home, Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence. Make a part to be with us each and every week for the next 19 weeks out here at Johnny's Tavern, West Lawrence. Well, I referenced one exhibition game in the books. The other comes up on Thursday, and one of our favorite guys, a guy that was on your staff for 7 years. He was actually my original radio co-host of Rock Chalk Sports Talk back in the day. Brett Ballard, the head coach of the Washburn Ichabods. Both so proud of Brett and the job he's doing. It's going to be awesome to see him back in the house. How much did you correspond with Coach Ballard a year ago in his first season in Topeka, and how proud of your former pupil are you?
Well, Brett and I talk. There's no doubt we don't talk as much as we should. Because he gets busy and we get busy, but he's obviously always going to be part of the fabric of who we are and what we tried to do, because he was with us, like, was it the first 7 years?
Yep.
And so certainly part of some great teams, and he was unbelievable at kind of from an organizational standpoint and helping run the office. And so I've been real impressed with his what he's done and his knowledge. But he was born to be a head coach. I mean, he's doing a great job. He was with Danny for I don't know exactly how, 5 or 6 as an assistant, and then since then, he's been here starting 2 years, and he was at obviously just down the road before that, and did a great job. But I think he's really, really good. He's a terrific coach, and he'll get his kids to play real hard, and he'll try to mess with us and do some stuff we hadn't practiced against and those things. But I would expect nothing less.
Of course, Brett played for Coach Williams for a couple of seasons. He was on that 16-0 2002 team that went perfect through Big 12 conference play, and then coached with Bill Self for 7. So that'll be a special homecoming for our main man, B-Ball, as we like to call him, Brett Ballard. All right, let's dive back into the audience questions, while still reminding you can call us up at 1-800-845-HAWK. Rex wants to know, any news on Silvio?
No, unfortunately, and there's not going to be any news. I wouldn't think in the immediate future. There's without going into any details at all, I think everybody would understand that what it was very limited until the trial was officially over, and then after it's over, obviously everybody's got to be able to put everything together and look into whatever they need to look into. So we're hopeful soon. We're hopeful that his eligibility review is done as hastily as possible. But we also don't know the time frame in which that will occur. So it's a sad deal. But I just hope it can happen sooner rather than later. And then we'll deal with what we got to deal with. But I just hope it's sooner rather than later. But when there's so many different factors involved and things like this, you just don't know when that time frame will be, and certainly I don't know. Maybe somebody else knows, but I don't know that yet. But I think everybody will cooperate to try to do it as quickly as possible, though. Such a great kid. How are his spirits in the midst of all this? Surprisingly, to me, unbelievable. I think that he is if you think about it, you take it's not like he came in here from Nebraska or Colorado or Texas. I mean, he came from Angola, and the reason he came here was to play ball, and he didn't come to Kansas in any part because there's somebody else here that was a home family type person to him that was already here. He came here to be a part of the basketball stuff, and of course that entails also being a student and going to school here, in which he's done very well in school. So you take that away, and then you realize your parents are, they're not a couple hundred miles away. They're 3,000 or 4,000 miles away, and everything else that's going on. Of course, he's disappointed, but he's also handled it very well and understands that there is a process, and he's got to stay positive and certainly keep his head about it, because he understands that there's a process. He understands what needs to be done, but he's real confident though, and certainly it'd be nice to have him out there sooner rather than later. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But hopefully it'll play out, relatively soon.
Hopefully so. Great kid, as I said. You told us the story last year of him getting up early every day to FaceTime with his sister.
Yeah.
A 9-hour time difference back home so he could catch her when she was getting out of school. Pretty special stuff from that young man. Yeah. All right, we're going to pause for one final timeout. When we come back, we'll take 2 or 3 more audience questions and then pick our winner of that great prize, a 2-night stay at the Oriat Hotel. You can call us up at 1-800-845-HAWK if you want to get in one last question for Coach. The show wraps up right after this on the Equity Bank Jayhawk IMG Sports Network.
Furnace safety is something most people never think about. The weather turns cool, so you turn on the furnace and hope it works to keep your family warm. But faulty gas furnaces are dangerous and can cause serious health concerns if not maintained. That's why we have the pros at Kate's come out to inspect our furnace and make sure it's safe and winter ready. Their technicians will test the safety controls and provide a detailed report on the state of our equipment. For more on furnace tune-ups and to register to win a Nest thermostat, go to katesheatingandcooling.com/nest.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?